makes them mad about it is that they had black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descent. They had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire best. We think you fight fire with water best. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions where all of us people are getting together and have an international proletarian revolution.
Right on.
And that's saying all power to the people. Right. You've heard the testimony of pigs here, and you got pigs of all colors, you know that. You got pigs that are white, you got pigs that are black, you even got pigs that are black and white. Propagating the same type of madness that this buffoon Hanrahan would be propagating if he were here himself. And why? Because they want to keep you to believing that I'm your enemy, and that everybody else that's black and that wears a lot of hair on his head, and hair on his face, they want to keep you thinking that he's your enemy. Why? Because if ever you would disregard him and overlook him just for a minute and throw away that question of racism and start dealing with a little logic, then there would be no one else you could attack other than Hanrahan, other than Davy, and other than Tricky Dicky Nixon. If you make the right decision, then the oppressed people of the world get complete satisfaction. I know you return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Welcome to a Friday episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J. I'm here, even though I said yesterday I wasn't going to be here because this is totally a scheduling issue where I have to be home before I go to work until about 2:30. So I'm like, as long as I'm here, might as well put together some sort of a show. So that's why I'm here. But again, welcome to You Left Shit Out. I'm your host again, Compton J. I'm going to do a chat check in just a second. I see we already got a good amount of people in the chat. We already got 110 people watching. I hope that translates into 110 or at least 100 likes, and I'll check that in just a second. But before I do that, let me just let everybody know what the topics are today. And if you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Jordan's interview with JB. We'll play a lot of it and just kind of answer the questions that JB was asked, kind of reflect on the interview. And then in the middle, just noticed a tweet that Rome sent out, Marianne Williamson, saying that we can vote out fascism. So there's a lot of back and forth going on Twitter about that. And then right as I'm making the graphics for this, what also popped up was Aaron Mate's tweet about showing Emma Vigland being asked about Neil Minky's candidacy on live. So we're going to cover that video. We might start with that, kind of start just to get us warmed up before we get into the JB interview on Status Quo with Jordan Chariton. So we're going to do that. So that kind of just lays out what the whole episode or stream will be today. And of course, we started out with the chairman. I'm going to play this again because I do want to just give my thoughts on it and how if we are able to accomplish what he's saying in this video, there's nothing that the people, the proletariats, can not accomplish. So let's just listen to the chairman again.
What makes them mad about it is that they had black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descents. They had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire fists. We think you fight fire with water fists. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions where all of those people are getting together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. Right on. And that's it. And you've heard the testimony of pigs here, and you got pigs of all colors, you know that. You got pigs that are white, you got pigs that are black, you even got pigs that are black and white. Propagating the same type of madness that this buffoon Hanrahan would be propagating if he were here himself. And why? Because they want to keep you to believing that I'm your enemy, and that everybody else that's black and that wears a lot of hair on his head and hair on his face, they want to keep you thinking that he's your enemy. Why? Because if ever you would disregard him and overlook him just for a minute and throw away that question of racism and start dealing with a little logic, then there would be no one else you could attack other than Hanrahan, other than Daly, and other than Tricky Dicky Nixon. If you make the right decision, then the oppressed people of the world get complete satisfaction. I know you return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Again, I mean, it's the chairman just making a point that I would say the vast majority of the left just does not understand, and that's uniting as proletariat in irregardless of differences. It's just something that we have yet to grasp, and it's part of it is because, or I would say the vast majority of it's because it's propaganda. So I mean, it is what it is. So quick chat check. Let's see here. Let me turn this up here. Okay, so yes. And oops. Let's see. Look at all the white folks like, well, I did not view it this way, Johnson. I'm just kidding. Yeah, good joke though. Nick is around. It's Friday. I'm sure he's taking some time off. But he'll be back. He'll be here tomorrow. I know that. Even Tom Hartman doesn't ban me from chat when I say Biden locks kid up in cages in the borders. Maybe they are waking up. Let's go. Jordan actually does valuable journalism, unlike Jen and Kyle. It's all class war. And Jordan is like Jen Perlman's twin brother. You mean they look alike? Is that what you mean? Yes, the chairman. I think I'll do a couple of more. Jordan is almost as unbearable as Kyle. Jordan as the reporter, I don't think anyone has pointed out any issues with his reporting as far as how he reports. Or maybe there are some. I'm not going to say any. Some people may have issue with. But what the reason I played that Fred Hampton video was reason I played that is because we have to start identifying who's our real enemy, and then everybody else that's left, we're educating as part of the proletariat. And this is what I'll say about Jordan. And I said this before in the stream, we're going to go hard at anyone who we feel is presenting a strategy or presenting a critique or talking point or anything similar to any of those that we feel is damaging or not doing the best it can do for our community. And we're going to talk more about this in the interview because they go deep into a lot of things. So I'll leave the rest of it for the interview. And this comment here, all power to the people. That will be the last one outside of the super chat that I think I have a super chat somewhere here. I got to scroll up. So I'm going to start that super chat. Now let's go to the like check, just to check to make sure. I know, because I know when we get into the conversation, it's real awkward to go, hey, let me go like. So I just want to make sure people, that's why I have to do these things, because when you're engrossed in conversation, you don't think about it. So we're at 200 viewers or so, 123 likes. If we can push that to like 175, maybe 50 more, that'll be great. So 50 more likes. Please like this video. Also, if you didn't get a notification for this stream and you want to get one, join our Substack, which is also our mailing list. And you will get notifications. I know I try to send them out for all of my streams, and I've been getting on some of the other members to send out notifications. But if they just happen to not remember, sometimes maybe once a week I'll go in and like just send out some notifications of videos that may not be live anymore, but I noticed that our audience has not been notified about. So got that out of the way, did the quick chat check. Now let's do this super chat, and then we'll get into the discussion here. What good is Jordan's good journalism if he's just herding us into the party he's reporting against? And that was the issue that RBN has. But let's watch the interview before we do more. Before I at least give more comments on that, we will address or get to the interview. But let me see what I want to do first. Only because the Emma Vigland video is short. I think I want to start with that so that we can just, kind of get warmed up and allow more people to get into the conversation. So let's share Emma's video here. And then we have the Anti-Imperialist Summit playing in the back there for those that's wondering what is that in the back. I always try to have something on RBN's network that's playing in the background. I'll read the caption in just a second. Hang on a second here. Actually, let's read it first. Awkward. Majority Report, a show that regularly attacks other leftists it accuses of trying to split the left, now has to grapple with one of its co-hosts running against DSA endorse, let me say her full name, Christine Gonzalez in DC 59, and thus trying to split the vote. So I'm not sure if this is on. I should go check on their YouTube and see if they have that, or if somebody just clipped this, or if Aaron just clipped this and put it on while it was live before they before it went off. So let's listen, and we'll comment at the end on the other side of the clip. It's the full 2 and 20 minutes allowed on Twitter by personal accounts, so it's the full 20 minutes.
Emma's Cashews writes in, "Hey, Emma Jordy crew, I like Nomi and think she'd be a great senator, but are you worried about the chance she splits the left vote with Kristen Gonzalez and Crowley gets elected? Gonzalez already got endorsed by AOC, DSA, and the Working Families Party, so why should I support a candidate when the rest of the institutional left is backing another leftist poggers?" It's a great point. look, yesterday I did not know that Nomi was running in a district with Kristen Gonzalez and this who's backed by DSA, one of this historically large number of DSA endorsed candidates in the upcoming elections here in New York. I wish I had known that, frankly. You know, Nomiki's a friend of the show, and she's gonna, you know, it's her choice to run. But I really don't have an answer for how that, because
yeah, I mean, I got a lot of those messages too. I didn't anticipate that conflict, and perhaps I should have. I haven't looked closely at the candidates yet, other than to know that they exist.
And frankly, I was a little confused because the districts had just been redrawn, so it was hard to keep track for me.
Yeah.
But
look, this is nothing personal.
So we're playing now. Let me just say, I didn't watch this whole video intentionally because I wanted my first reaction live. So we're playing we didn't know who was in the race, even though you just said this is an historically high amount of DSA endorsed candidates. But the people who are saying let's vote for progressive Democrats didn't know there was already one in there running. And that person happens to be a person of color. So did that have any play into why you don't have any idea what's going on in this district because the candidate is not white? I'm just trying to figure this out. Either it's because the candidate is not white, or this is complete bullshit that you're trying to pretend like you didn't know. And you wish you did know. What would that have done? What would that have done if you knew? Literally, what would that have done? Now, if you notice, I'm going to show you. Maybe I'll bring it up now. If you look up, because I've been trying, or this was last night. Maybe I'm not going to say now because maybe they've done. But all of you are friends with Nomiki. But none of you have done videos on her saying, hey, let's go, Nomiki. But you're now trying to act like you didn't know this was going on. Come on. Come on. So let's see if somebody has done it now. So Nomiki Kuntz. I'm going to type in candidate. And let's filter this to, of course, just the last 24 hours. Oops. Oh, it's nothing. I put the last. Okay, so let's do this week because there's nothing that was listed. So hang on a second here. Can everybody see what I'm seeing? It cannot. Good. Okay, good. All right, so let me do this before I let everybody in on it because I don't want anything crazy to go on here. Let's go this week. All right, so now I will share this. So let's look and see their friend. Now she said friend of the show in the clip. I don't know if you caught that. She didn't say my friend. She said friend of the show. So now, of course, Vanguard, Nomiki accused of running as spoiler candidate in NY59 gets called out on Twitter. Now, if you watch the video of her announcing it, I don't believe they didn't know. Because it was very it was very like Nomiki came on there and was trying to make a thing of it, but both of them were just kind of like, they didn't seem that excited, in other words. But if you look here, I did share this, right? Yeah. If you look here, do you see anything? Like I said, Vanguard, they did something on it. That's their full stream, and one's their full stream, and one is the clip that they clip from the full stream. So that's not two different videos. That's one, right? Then you have Nomiki's own account. That's it. That is it. And you're trying to tell me you didn't know? The proof is in the results here. All of them knows Nomiki, and you telling me they're not out your candidate, the person you personally know, and some of you bring candidates on, Rational National, Humanist Report, you bring candidates on that you want to advocate for, and all of you are pushing DSA, this DSA / Justice Democrat strategy. AOC came out and endorsed her. That's another thing. She's trying to say somebody AOC endorsed, Emma has no idea about. Do we believe that? Do we believe that? Or is this their hypocrisy being covered up? I wish I would have known that. Then I wouldn't look like such of a hypocrite right now. Because as in Aaron Monte's tweet stated, these are some of the very types of people and this network, meaning the Majority Report network, that says these things, splitting the vote. Talking about leftist candidates splitting votes. What did they say about Mondaire Jones? I should see if they put anything up about, because this is the same thing that Sean, I think his name is Sean Patrick or something like that, the guy over the DNC. Mondaire. Okay, good. It came up. Mondaire Jones. Let's filter it for the last week. Was it the last week this happened? It could have been more than a week. It might be more than a week. So let's give it more than a week. But Mondaire Jones, is it Sean? Okay, Sean Patrick Maloney. Let's see if anything has come up here. Progressive incumbent faces coordinated attack. This is TYT's description of a person coming into a race that already has a person, a progressive there. That's TYT's version. Where's the one about Nomiki? Where's that? Let's see if anybody else reported on. Online media. I'm not talking about this corporate media mess, because they're just spinning it as two people going for it is not really a problem. That's how they're spinning it. So it looks like that's it. So, but you get the point, and I'm going to switch it back to the other video here and then do another chat check. So let's go back to the Emma video. And because I see 127 comments since the last time I checked, let's do another chat check just to make sure I don't get so far behind here. I do see another super chat. Let me start that so I can make sure I covered that in just a second here. Okay, so never get working class news from non-working class anchors. This is what we have been essentially. Why are the proletariat watching and listening to people who are not part of the proletariat and taking their advice for strategy? Why? That's essentially what we're doing when we're watching the Majority Report, when we're watching TYT. These are millionaires. Nomiki, plus all of her other bad history, NATO stuff, being out. She has such a shaky past that screams not good. So Nomiki and TYT not left, absolutely not. But they call themselves that. Nomiki is dead weight to TYT. She is, which is why I don't understand, why does Fox News bring her on all the time, unless there's a point to bringing her on specifically. Someone who's not left that calls herself left. Okay. The left. Is the left eating? No. Because I don't go do streams, for example, against Cornel West or Chris Hedges or Margaret Kimberly, because I consider them the left. I don't necessarily consider the majority report. Actually, I don't consider the majority report specifically the left. And TYT is liberal. I think that's all. I think we all know TYT and the majority report are liberal. So unless this comment is referring to something other than the majority report in TYT, I don't see this as being accurate. Pointing out people who aren't part of the left, who are trying to co-opt the left, is not infighting. That's us trying to extract the fake people from the narrative. I'm not speaking for any other network. This is what we do on RBN. There are some other networks that does play this as a he said, she said. So let's play the video. Actually, I'm going to play the video and put your comments up at the same time. How about that? So we can cover a little more ground. I'm going to rewind it just a little bit here.
Elections here in New York. I wish I had known that, frankly. Nomiki's a friend of the show, and she's gonna, it's her choice to run. But I really don't have an answer for how that, because I
got a lot of those messages too. I didn't anticipate that conflict, and perhaps I should have. I haven't looked closely at the candidates yet, other than to know that they exist.
And frankly, I was a little confused because the districts had just been redrawn, so it was hard to keep track for me.
Yeah.
But
look, this is nothing personal to know me. It's that I support the DSA candidates. This is true if DSA put in somebody against my buddy Chris running in Dallas. He didn't run as a DSA candidate. I would have supported DSA over him because.
So we, as we listen to more of the video, it sounds like maybe the reason they're not putting out content is because they're not supporting her. They're trying to stick to their principles that they've said publicly, which is a good decision to make. So let's listen more.
Because of that ideological reason. And I think, I think there's certain folks who say, this is democracy, and, win. And I kind of, in the vacuum, can relate to that and, see the best candidate win. But, you do have that Crowley vote split issue. And you do have the entire rest of the left lining up behind Kristen Gonzalez, who I think looks like a really good candidate and who I'm probably going to donate to. So, it's a... we've heard the criticisms, and
very valid.
This is another reason why I say it's bullshit that they didn't know. So you're saying, so this is basically what he's saying is that I had no idea who was running. I wish I would have known, and now I know my friend is running. So now I know who the person is that's running. And I have no history invested in this person because I just told you I didn't know about anything about this. But I'm just supporting them because they're DSA. Anybody DSA, you get the vote blue no matter who. Anybody in DSA, I'm going for. That's what he's trying to get us to believe. That he had no idea. And when I found out my personal friend is running, now I know that there's a DSA person who I have not invested any time because I don't know them. Now, but I'm going to support that person because they're DSA, which is vote blue no matter who. If whatever color DSA is, vote purple no matter who, whatever it is, their color that represents them. I wish Nomiki gets less than 5% based on how Jank lost badly. I know, but listen. You've been here long enough to I know when you're, but I'd like to use sarcasm sometimes because people do believe that to point out something. So I'm sorry if I didn't feel like I needed to say that ahead of time because you've been here long enough, Sal. But I will say that my apologies if it came off that way. My apologies for that. She is perfect candidate, empty, shallow, fake, isn't she? But when I see her, I see AOC, and I'm not sure why. I see the same hollowness that I didn't see 2 or 3 years ago in AOC. The fake left is exposing itself. That's a better way, I think, of saying it, instead of the infighting thing. Let's see if there's any new. No one in Emma's studio knew about Nomiki spoiling the DSA. That's what they didn't know, and that's why they probably were all like quiet. So it's coming out like that. So behind the scenes, they probably pissed as hell at this at Nomiki. I was gonna say something else. They're probably mad, is what it is at Nomiki. Is that you dropped this bullshit on us? And now Nomiki comes on. I couldn't think of any place of doing it than the place that has the most subscribers. Oh, I mean, and then my family, Majority Report, when all of them don't want to support you. Clearly, because they could put their weight, they can make videos. Hey, go out, support her, especially in New York, where they have a larger fan base. Hang on a second. All right, so wife has to go out into the field for a little bit. So I'm gonna finish the video, but I do want to take the time now that I see we have 325 people watching. So let's see what the like check is. So I'm gonna check to make sure that we are keeping pace with the likes, because that's how we get more people in this chat. That's how we get more people in our chat. So if you could like the video now, if you have not so far, let's see where we're at. We are at 213 likes. We can probably increase that to 275. So let's see if we can get to 275. I'll do another check in maybe 15 or so minutes. 320 some odd people watching. Let's see if we can get to 275. 300 would be great, but 275 would also be good. So let's now get back into the video. Here is the remaining like 10 seconds. Actually, let me rewind it just to get the context of the last sentence she's speaking. There we go.
So yeah, it's a we've heard the criticisms, and
very valid, very valid, frankly.
And I think that's like the challenge probably for Nomiki's campaign is how do you that's a huge concern.
Wow. So if you look at that Emma, that looks like anger to me. That looks like anger to me, especially when she says very valid, as if she made the point behind the scenes. Very valid point. Very valid. That's emotion behind it. So I'll do a check in just a second. But now let's go to comments on that video. So I'm in the same video. Let's minimize it and see what are some people thinking. If you commented on this, please put it in the chat. If you made a comment on Aaron's video that I just showed, please put it in the chat now, because I want to show yours specifically and ask questions about yours. Zoya is in the building. I just see Zoya. Let me put your comment up. Oops. When you click on it and then it updates, that's what just happened here. So there we go. Progressive and incremental are semantically related. In some cases, you can use progressive instead of abject incrementalism or incremental. You can. And that's essentially what a progressive, I mean, and I think you were making this point. I can't remember if it was in a stream or in the chat, but that's literally, I think maybe in a DM. That's literally the point of progressivism is incrementalism. It's to progress, but it's progress. It's not a complete going to the finish line. Progress by definition is you're moving like this, right? You're making progress. And that's why I stopped calling myself a progressive. Maybe could be a year ago. I stopped, maybe longer than a year, maybe a little bit longer than a year. Yeah, I stopped using the word progressive. It just tainted. Now leftists, they're starting to use the word leftist now. So in another year or so, we won't be at that word won't have the same meaning neither. Remember, Sam Cedars said, "I don't care." Apparently, he meant Nomiki too. Pretty funny joke. What's up, Trish? Williamson is a joke too. Her stance on Israel and foreign policies are horrendous. They are, and we're gonna cover that, Brenda. We're actually gonna cover that. I think we're gonna make that the last story. But let's listen what else Aaron Monte put up. Okay, speaking of awkward, the majority report's candidate left bona fides included publicly calling for House Un-American Activities committees just for leftist journalists. Yeah, I think I showed that. I don't need to show that. I showed that yesterday in a tweet. Oh, I'm sorry, in the stream yesterday. Let's look at this reply here. Looks like they candidly aired a valid criticism and showed deep reflection and honesty in addressing it. Yeah, this is. I think it's because they're against it. That's why I think. Who is Pete? So Pete shared it anyway. So to this point, looks like they candidly aired a valid criticism and showed deep reflection and honesty in addressing it. And I think that's because they're against what Nominki's doing behind the scenes, and they may have expressed that to her. But it's clear. Let's go to some more comments here. Wow, this one got a lot. This is from David. This person is co-host of Left Reckoning video. Oh, so this is a Jacobin. So this is a DSA person, is what I'm going to assume if they're part of Jacobin. Absolutely, this is a DSA person. So what's awkward? Both Matt and Emma have said they support the DSA candidate in the race. Yeah. And let's see. So they're not supporting their own co-host. This is Aaron Mate. Wow. So they're not supporting their own co-host. Sounds awkward. And reply, I don't know, man. I think making the right call on this race is supporting Gonzalez, despite one of your contributors running shows as a good. Yeah, that shows integrity. It should. Let's assume you're right that both are endorsing a DSA candidate, which isn't clear in that clip. Doesn't change the fact that a show regularly accusing others of splitting the left has a co-host trying to split the left in this race. The call is damage control. It's hilarious. Oh, maybe they're letting somebody else make the point, and then they say, yes, that's correct. And that's them saying, no, we're not hypocrites because we played the clip. Maybe that's what Aaron, it looks like that's the point that Aaron is making here. Now, I'm not going to keep going. It looks like they kept going back and forth. I'm just not interested in that. So I'll maybe read, maybe that's it. It looks like there's no more response from that specific person, but that was a good exchange. Now, let's see if anybody made a comment in that thread. Let's see if anybody said anything here. I'll read your comment. Oops, sorry. No wonder Aaron Mate is called the buzzsaw. Aaron is firing on all cylinders today. The right call would be not to vote for either one of them. Yeah, they're both Democrats. They just, to them, DSA is different. That's to them. That's their nuance of a Democrat. That's their progressive imperialist versus corporate imperialist. And we're yelling, the imperialist part is the problem of that. What's up, eh? Not supporting is not the same thing as open denouncement. That is true. I think I read. Let me read hers all. No, this is a different one. So progressives are incrementalists by definition, step by step, no challenge to status quo, inflation, climate change, housing, etc. We can't fight for tiny steps. We must be revolutionary. Absolutely. Thank you, Zoya is love. Oh, I did have a super chat. Let's read that super chat. Sorry, it's late here. There was a similar issue in Colorado when 2 Justice Democrat ran against Hickenlooper. I remember that, for Senate. I do remember that. Thank you for the super chat, Andrew. And I didn't thank this person earlier. I think that's KDK7. Thank you also for this super chat earlier. So awesome. So all right, so let's get now back, or get to, I think we can move on. We watched the video. I gave my commentary. I went from thinking that they're being hypocrites to then transitioning to, based on the video, to transitioning to them kind of saying that they're going to support the DSA candidate, and them kind of being upset with Nomiki for doing this, to them maybe saying, hey, this is damage control, like Aaron Mate was pointing out. So all of those are wrapped into it. What's up, Dana? Damn, David Sirota blocked me. Anyone else? Yeah, I'm blocked. Not me. I'm not sure. I have to check to see if I did, because I think that video was sent out on RBN. It blocked RBN for sure. I don't know if I was blocked. I have to check that. So we got 358 people here. Hopefully that means we got at least 325 likes. And now that we have everybody, not everybody, but we have a double the amount that we started, triple the amount that we started with. Let's now get into the main event, and that is the interview with Status Quo and RBN, aka Jordan and James, or JB. So let's go to the video here. Oh, here it goes. I don't know. Let's listen to one of these ads. Oh, I'm not even sharing. Good. An ad popped up before I share. Good. So now I'll stop it and share that. All right. So let's share. And they kind of get right into the conversations after the night, the introductions. They kind of get right into it. So of course, we're not going to watch the whole thing, but we'll watch part of it. I don't think this lasted. Yeah, we can't do 2 hours almost. So, but we'll get into some of the questioning here. So let's get started.
Is June 2nd. The year is 2022. We are a little early today, about an hour early. So hopefully more people, more of the usual crowd will trickle in as they see the stream. Share this live stream and like this live stream so we can get it to more people. Delighted to be joined by JB, James Fauntleroy, if I'm pronouncing that right.
It's Fauntleroy, yeah.
Oh, Fauntleroy, my bad.
Yeah.
From Revolutionary Blackout Network, and you have your own channel also on YouTube that I think is just JB.
It's JB Font Show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you could join today. We're going to do a little deep dive into the outside electoral politics strategy, which I know you and Revolutionary Blackout talk about quite often. Also wanted to address your backstory, because you are pretty open that you're struggling, which I think more people need to be open about that. But also, I mean, right off the top, when you're wrong, you're wrong. I tweeted at you a couple weeks ago because you said Nina Turner was going to lose. I said she only lost by 4,000 votes and basically pointed out she had a chance. I was wrong, and you were right. So I couldn't find the damn tweet. I was looking for like 15 minutes to try and find the tweet. So you'll just take my word for it. But let's start, first of all, because I think for viewers that don't know you, talk about you're down in Florida. How did you get involved in kind of political commentary, and talk about kind of your backstory? Because You're dealing with everything from rent raising. You got healthcare problems. Talk about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Jordan. It's good to be here with all of you here today. Of course, I am in this independent media space, just like you, though I am a novice as opposed to you being a veteran in this space. So it is definitely a privilege to be here. As far as, my history goes, it pretty much started out, I first started getting into the political space, even being more politically minded around 2018, when we had the, gubernatorial race, between Andrew, oh my goodness.
Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum. Remember that mess? Let's go here.
Is your disability?
Oh, I'm on kidney dialysis. I've been on dialysis for 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so because of that, I saw how the political spectrum was, and I started to become a little bit more interested in it. So I started joining Twitter and started, speaking, seeing people speak in spaces. And as I learned more, especially as far as the historical context, I've moved further and further left as far as, my politics go. And so I would start having conversations with people who are current members of Revolutionary Blackout Network, people like Nick and other former members of Revolutionary Blackout Network on their streams. And then there was this culmination of us coming together and saying, well, they like my takes, I like their takes. They said, well, let's make a network. And so that's what we did. So we created, at first it was called Fred Hampton Leftist, but then we later changed it to Revolutionary Blackout Network.
Right. So he's just giving a little bit of the history there. But then Jordan does ask him a very interesting or a good question. So let's go to that question now.
They have their power. Then this is one of the reasons why I also created my channel as well.
I'm curious. We'll get to political strategy and all that, but I'm curious because for me, and I don't have, I have minor things, but definitely not dialysis. And I know you were recently in the hospital dealing with that. But I'm curious because for me, when I'm on the road and when I was at Standing Rock and other places, it's always been kind of maddening to me because I'm looking at reality on the ground, which is fascism, cops shooting at indigenous people who are trying to, just stop a pipeline or wherever it is, Flint or other places that pretty much there's this quiet fascism going on. There's this essentially people being poisoned, being left to die. There were people being evicted during the pandemic, despite the moratorium. And I see that. And then I look on CNN or honestly, even a lot of indie outlets, and it's all bullshit. It's just, it's all hot takes, kind of confrontation, this and that. And nobody's really talking about the reality for people like you. For me, it's maddening because I'm out there, but I'm not directly experiencing it. So for you, can you kind of talk about what you're dealing with and the disconnect, what other media covers? Okay.
I'm glad you asked this question. So one of the things that I feel that they don't cover is all right, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be JB. There is a class divide in this nation, and it's also apparent in media, not just regular media, also in independent media too. There's a class divide. And the thing is that there's a loss of a sense of urgency that we just do not have within some of these spaces. You look at the people who are in CNN, NBC, Fox, New York Times, all these people, they are making 6-7 figures. They're being paid by billionaires, right? And so because of that, they do not have the wherewithal to focus more on those are the issues of not just the working class, but the poor class. See, the thing is that one thing that I tend to harp on a lot is that nobody talks about the poor anymore. And the thing is that our numbers are growing. That's the scary part. And so, for instance, I literally have, what was today? The second? Okay, so I have 28 days to get out of my apartment right now because
26, JB. It's Feb. No, yeah, you're right. 28.
They're raising my rent so much to the point where I can't afford to live. And I'm on a fixed income. My mother lives with me and she's also on a fixed income. And so I literally already have a GoFundMe just so that I can afford my daily expenses because I can't afford to live. I can't get on Section 8 because they're not taking applications. Number two, Section 8 is also 5-year-long waiting list on top.
Can you imagine that? I'm just going to say this. So Section 8 is a housing program where the government helps assist people or families, I can't remember the criteria, paying their rent. So this means people are having problems paying their rent. It's a 5-year waiting list for that. How absurd is that? These aren't people who are saying, hey, I'm doing well, but if you can help me, that means I'll be able to save more money. These are people saying, I'm having trouble to pay my rent now. That's a 5-year waiting list on that. Remember, this is our money. This is our money. What pays the DMV? When you think, oh, why is the DMV always terrible? It's our money, and they don't want to open up more DMVs, for example, that need. DMV outlets, you could probably double the amount of DMVs that they have nationwide, and you still may need more. We can't even get that. It's our money. We can't get health care. It's our money. They just tell us what they do with our money and say, get the fuck out of here, kid. You bother me. Like an old James Cagney movie. I know a lot of people may not know that, but I watch old films too. But anyway, let's get back into the interview with JB and Jordan.
Top of it too.
Right.
Then on top of it, I have food stamps, which the food stamps is $24 a month. It increased from $16 a month. Thank you. But that's basically it. Then on top of that, I also have to go to and from dialysis, which I also have to pay a copay, every single time to and from dialysis, which also diminishes my income.
Right.
And
so the ridiculousness of copays. I wrote an article about this on an old website. I don't even think the website, but Mr. Joe Biden, I've never heard of the human right that has a copay. Back when they started co-opting the language, I remember the day, and that's when I decided to write that article. Healthcare is a human right. Co-opted the language. Then I'm like, well, Mr. Joe Biden, I've never heard of a human right that had a copay. Just imagine if you had to pay a copay every time you wanted to protest. You do. Sometimes you got to get registered. So let's say you had to pay a copay for free speech. So every time you wanted to speak freely, you had to pay a copay. That's essentially when you're saying healthcare is a human right, but that human right has a copay and a deductible. And this is what I've said in a couple of streams lately. Point to me your freedom that's not tied to you having to spend money to get it. Ponder that question as we get back into the video here.
And so you have that all on top of it. And so there is this urgency that people like me are feeling. And I liken it to being in a burning house. And when you're inside of a burning house and the fire department comes and you're looking out the window of the burning house and you say, thank God I'm saved. But then instead of pulling out this big fire hose to put the fire out to help you, instead what they do is they take out a squirt gun and they start squirting at the fire. And the problem is that
for those that didn't catch it, the squirting is the electoral politics. So the squirt gun is the voting part. Now, this is a great analogy. In order to put out the fire, the squirt gun could work if you have a bunch of squirt guns, but you know how the squirt gun can work better? If you also had several big fire hoses. Those fire hoses are revolutions. Those fire hoses are direct actions. Those fire hoses are people putting their feet to the ground. Now, working together, the squirt gun, a million squirt guns, big fire hoses, guess what? We can get the thing accomplished. But for those that are saying electoralism, you're trying to put out the fire with a squirt gun. So great analogy, JB. So let's get back to him finishing his example. I'll go back just a little bit.
Being done. And there's a lot of media outlets out there that, you know, they say they hold politicians' feet to the fire. I'm sorry, no, they don't. No, they don't. The thing is that they're all in league with each other, because guess what? The military-industrial complex pays.
Hang on,
these media outlets.
I thought I rewinded. Did I fast forward it? Okay, now I saw him give the little hand, so it's gonna be like 30 seconds before he actually did the squirt gun comment.
This urgency that people like me are feeling, and I liken it to being in a burning house. And when you're inside of a burning house, and the fire department comes, and you're looking out the window of the burning house, and you say, "Thank God I'm saved." But then, instead of pulling out this big fire hose to put the fire out to help you, instead what they do is they take out a squirt gun and they start squirting at the fire. And the problem is that we're screaming at the top of our lungs saying, do something more, and yet at the same time, nothing is being done. And there's a lot of media outlets out there that, you know, they say they hold politicians' feet to the fire. I'm sorry, no, they don't. No, they don't. The thing is that they're all in league with each other, because guess what? The military-industrial complex pays these media outlets, and then on top of it, the military-industrial complex, you know, also they pay the media outlets, and then the media outlets don't care about us, right? Yeah. And then they also pay, you know, the politicians too. So they're all under the same umbrella. So there's really no incentive to really challenge the power, you know. And so for us, it's like, this is a new time for us. I literally had to, for this camera, I raised money on my coffee page. With this computer that I have, I purchased it with the economic, the stimulus that Biden gave us, the $1,400. I used some of that to get this computer so I can start this. And so,
and by the way, you mentioned Medicare. Biden is currently trying to privatize Medicare.
Yes, exactly. My premiums are about to go up too.
Yep.
And so,
but let's vote for Joe Biden. We're winning. At least he's not Trump. At least he's not Trump. Try that in every other aspect of your life, and you'll see how ridiculous that sounds. At least it's not something that's always worse. Like, you can literally do that with anything. Eat this dirt. Eat this pile of dirt. At least it's not shit. Isn't that true? Like, what does that do? Comparing something to something that's terrible does what? Anyway, let's go.
I'll put it this way. Those of you who are making $15 an hour, you're in a better position than I am. That's how bad it is out here. And the thing is that people really need to see what we're going through. And, you know, you have everywhere around me is charging more for rent than a lot of us can afford. Look, my rent is actually now about to be more than what I get from disability.
Wow.
How am I supposed to survive off of that? You know, so it's just, it's a lot. And we're constantly being told, and it's just like what James Baldwin said, just wait a little bit longer, just wait a little bit longer. And it's like, we're in a burning house. We're about to be burned alive. How long do you want us to wait? Right. So that's honestly what it is.
So,
and I'm going to pause it there because he asked another question. And before because he kind of goes into a different point. And before he does that, I want to play the Baldwin clip, or one of the clips. I'm not sure if this is the exact one that he's referring to, but I'm going to play one that was posted on RBN's Twitter account earlier this morning. So let's put that one up since he's referencing it right here. Or this is one of the times he's talking about it. He says this phrase multiple times, talks about the concept multiple times, but this is just one of them. So let's go ahead and listen to Mr. Baldwin. So here we go.
What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to? I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It's taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brothers and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephews' time. How much time do you want for your progress? The future of the Negro in this country is precisely as bright or as dark as the future of the country. It is entirely up to the American people and our representatives. It is entirely up to the American people whether or not they're going to face and deal with and embrace this stranger whom they've maligned so long. What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. Because I'm not a nigger, I'm a man. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need it. The question you got to ask yourself, the white population of this country has got to ask itself, North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the North and the South. There's just a difference in the way they castrate you. But the fact of the castration is the American fact. If I'm not the nigger here.
So in the first part of the video, but I allowed the whole video because it's great. I have a bunch of clips of James Baldwin. I don't know why I forget his name, first name, even though that's my name too. I forget that it's James all the time. Because why is that? Is there another writer that's Baldwin that I read? I think there's another writer. I keep getting mixed up here. But anyway, that is I believe that's the clip. But he speaks about how long do you want me to wait for progress? As always, now is not the time. It's never a good time. And now let's get back to JB.
So then that brings us, and by the way, smash the like button, share this live stream. We put JB's GoFundMe in the description. So if you can chip in a couple bucks, go ahead and do that. Then the question becomes, what is the political strategy? Because you call me a veteran. I was a nobody until 2016. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I covered the Bernie campaign and then covered some other things like Flint, Standing Rock, some other things. And I think a lot of people, maybe yourself too, I think a lot of people kind of got on cloud nine and felt like they were part of revolution through Bernie's campaign because of buzzwords like political revolution. And I'm a journalist, but I'm also a human. Like some of those rallies, I felt like I was at Woodstock or something without the drugs.
Yeah. In fact, might have not to interrupt you, but at the Queens Bridge rally, I actually saw you on TV when I was watching. Oh my God, it's through the government. C-SPAN. Yeah. So I saw you on C-SPAN. So I was like, oh, there's Jordan Sheridan. So cool. So yeah, I saw you there. But yeah.
And then once reality came crashing down, Bernie dropped out, didn't continue the revolution, has basically just kind of become a good Democrat. Other squad members basically turned the ruckus into sending nice letters asking Biden to do things. A lot of people kind of want to burn down the house. The question is, what is the best strategy? Because from my perspective, based on what I've been covering the last few, over the last year, I've covered mostly organizing, much more than electoral politics. The same independent media folks that suddenly care about unions, like wouldn't touch the stuff I was covering when I was covering the Amazon workers organizing, Starbucks workers organizing. During the pandemic, I went and interviewed homeless people being evicted. I couldn't get anyone to even retweet it, much less cover it. But to you, what is the best strategy for actually achieving structural change? Because to me, I believe it's going to have to come outside the electoral politics. But I also believe that, frankly, whatever you want to call it, whether it's the left or the working class, is so fractured right now. I don't know, outside of the pockets that are currently organizing, how we get people to come together. Because to me, we saw that a mass mobilization can happen in this country. It happened. It happened after George Floyd. The problem is everybody went back to their homes and back to sleep.
All right. I see a comment that somebody's streaming is buffering here. So let's see here. Just want to make sure I'm checking everything. All the connections are right. Okay, so okay, so I don't see you, Brenda, saying anything else about it. So I'm gonna assume that that issue is now okay. That issue is now over. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna rewind 30 seconds, 29 seconds, and then play it here.
Went and interviewed homeless people being evicted. I couldn't get anyone to even retweet it, much less cover it. But to you, what is the best strategy for actually achieving structural change? Because to me, I believe it's going to have to come outside electoral politics. But I also believe that, frankly, whatever you want to call it, whether it's the left or the working class, is so fractured right now. I don't know, outside of the pockets that are currently organizing, how we get people to come together. Because to me, we saw that a mass mobilization can happen in this country. It happened. It happened after George Floyd. The problem is everybody went back to their homes and back to sleep. So to you, what is the strategy? Because I know you, Revolutionary Blackout, don't want to deal in electoral politics, want people to focus on other things.
Well, that's not exactly true. So here's the thing, and I'm going to quote Savvy Sabs, one of my Revolutionary Blackout comrades. So a little bit of history. Back then, okay, let's go back to the 1960s. Back in the 1960s, during the civil rights protests that were going on, which was a long protest, it just didn't happen just during the 1960s. It was a very lengthy process, but it happened over the few decades, but it culminated during the 1960s. One of the things that they actually did was that they did a lot of direct action. And this direct action was coupled with using electoral politics. Now, I liken direct action to a hammer, and I liken a politician to a nail. The thing is that in order to get the nail driven into the wall, you need the direct action and really the fear of displeasing the people to drive that nail into the wall. The problem is that the establishment knows that direct action is the best way to go about it. And so they tell you to circumvent that and just vote, right? So because of that, then that means, have you ever tried to take a nail and push it with your finger into the wall? How hard that is, how painful it is? Well, it's the same thing. We're trying to push a nail into the wall just with our finger when we literally have 1,000 hammers that are right behind us. Take your pick.
Oh my Lord, JB with these great analogies. Voting is trying to push a nail in the wall with your finger. That's what voting is doing. And that is a great analogy from JB. So let's let him make that point from the beginning right there.
Was coupled with using electoral politics. Now, I liken direct action to a hammer, and I liken a politician to a nail. The thing is that in order to get the nail driven into the wall, you need the direction act.
I used his analogy is good or great, but I read it the wrong way. The politician is the nail, or let's hear him say that again. I can't believe I just forgot it that quick.
Was coupled with using electoral politics. Now, I liken direct action to a hammer, and I liken a politician to a nail. The thing is that in order to get the nail driven into the wall, you need the direction action and really the fear of displeasing the people to drive that nail into the wall. The problem is that the establishment knows that
he's talking about our tactics. So using your finger is the tactic that you're trying to use to get this nail to do what you want it to do, instead of using a hammer. Being nice. This also speaks to what Kashama Sawant was speaking about, adversarial approach. That's basically the DNC handbook. Oh, the best way for you to get your political views accomplished is to cozy up to us, be nice, over time, network. No. It's to be adversarial. So let's continue.
Direct action is the best way to go about it. And so they tell you to circumvent that and just vote, right? So because of that, then that means, have you ever tried to take a nail and push it with your finger into the wall? How hard that is, how painful it is? Well, it's the same thing. We're trying to push a nail into the wall just with our finger when we literally have 1,000 hammers that are right behind us. Take your pick. And so in order to get that, one of my other comrades on there, Rome, who does things like Tour for the Poor, which is going out to feeding people, giving people clothing, things like that, is to,
By the way, I'm a little worried about Rome. I don't know him, but if he keeps screaming, he's going to have a heart attack. That guy is angry. I saw one clip. I was like, damn. I mean, he has a right to be angry, but be careful. I said the same thing to Grumbine the other day.
Well, I'll put it this way. If you're angry, you're not paying attention.
Right.
So, that's one of the things. I like to say what Rome expresses is righteous indignation.
Right.
Because he has experienced what I've experienced. And so, but the thing is that he is a little bit more serious than I am. And so that's one of the reasons why I consider Rome to be one of my heroes. But as far as, doing, these actions, former RBN member Afeni, she does, with Freedom Fighters DC in Washington, DC. And we're trying to get these things off the ground. But the thing is that using that hammer of direct action is the integral part. The problem is that we have a lot of people that are disillusioned because they feel like, what can we do? Because they've been propagandized to think that there's nothing that they can do. They've been told that all you have to do is vote. Hell, it was done through Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump. It was done through all of them to basically let us know, hey, you guys don't need to do that. And then on top of it, more laws against protesting, like what Ron DeSantis did, is actually hindering.
I mean, JB is just breaking down the point that all signs have already been pointing that to electoralism is dead. So, or electoralism is in hospice care, is on life support. Why are we trying so hard to squeeze change out of something that is on life support? You get what I'm saying? Like, would you, if you had kinfolk on life support, would you go to the hospital in ICU and say, hey, I know you on life support, but can you come and work on this backyard with me? Does that make sense? If you're trying to get your backyard completed? So now, if you want to continue to do things, and he's gonna go over this in just a few seconds here. We should be doing sort of like in his analogy, or not his analogy, but we should be doing both. Now they always use this: let's do both, but both to be successful, even at electoralism, even at your own game, you need to do direct action. I mean, just look at it. Civil rights, the direct action is what produced them or forced them to do the legislation. So you get somebody in office, then you start your direct action plan that is supplemental to you just getting the person you wanted in office. The people you put in office is not scared of you. You need to be saying, I put you in office and you need to make sure you're doing this in this term, not 15 years from now. Instead of playing this, well, let's be nice to them. That never works. Or show me the instance in history where that works. All right, so let's continue a little more. We might do another 5 minutes and then we'll switch topics and get into the last topic, which is, I got something in my eye. The Marianne Williamson saying that we can vote out fascism. It's so ridiculous.
Our ability to do that. Couple that with the amount of the occupying military force, what we call the police, is also pushing us back every single time we decide to exercise our First Amendment right. And so because of that, then we're constantly being bashed and badgered against utilizing that right of direct action. And so one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to activate people into having that same revolutionary spirit as our elders in the past did, because that's what worked. And the thing is that I understand that some people feel that going through the Democratic Party is the best route. But at the same time, we've been seeing this for over 40 years. And what do we really, truly have to show for it? For instance, my right to marry my boyfriend could be taken away just like that, because it hasn't been codified into law, even though the Democrats actually had supermajorities, a couple of times in the last few years. So, it's a means of frustration. And the thing is that as far as not going electoral, one of the things that we said, and I think I kind of walked away from this point, but it's being heavy on direct action,
right?
How heavy-handed, and just having a lighter hand on electoral politics. Meaning, instead of having a heavy hand on electoral politics and lighter on direct action, we flip it. Because that's how it was back in the day.
Right.
And so, and it's not just through things like direct action, like, protests. It could be things like boycott, sit-ins. It could be, things like doing simply this, folding up the hands and not doing a damn thing. And people will go, well, how are these people going to eat? How are these people going to live? That's where mutual aid comes in.
Right. So lots of good points that he's making here, JB is making. In particular, reflecting on the Black radical tradition. He didn't say those words, but that's what he's talking about when he says our elders, the Black radical tradition of direct action. That is a tradition of African Americans, Africans on the American continent, and Black people, whichever term you want to use. That is a tradition. Protesting, marching, fighting back. Not just simply saying every 2 years, every 4 years, going into a voting booth. That's our democracy. And RBN is trying to reawaken that spirit. So now, if reformists came to us and said, "Hey, let's work together. Here's an idea. You help us get our candidates elected, and we will plan with you hand in hand direct action events, 6 direct action events for the whole year of 2023. Could we show up? Could revolutionary leftists show up, for 30 minutes out of our day, one day out of the year, to write a name on a ballot in order to get all of those liberals, all of those reformists to join in direct action? I'm sure something like that could be worked out. The problem is, do they want to do the work? So I see this interview as a possible first step to bridging the gap between reformists and leftists, of having conversation. I'm not going to say bridging the gap. That's jumping too far ahead to say that we're going to come, but to having conversations. I'm hoping that this is one of many. And I'm glad that he reached out to JB. I mean, there's probably a specific reason because he quote tweeted him. But JB was the right person to go do this first. Because JB is the soft-spoken one. JB is the compassionate one. JB is the understanding one. That's who JB is. So he's doing what he's I would say is meant to do, and that's great. Bridging a gap. So maybe this could be the beginning of conversations. It could be. Because I don't see them doing what they would like to do without, us and bringing them on board to direct action events and tasks, or direct action actions would also be good. So that's all I'm saying. Not that we are saying we're invested in electoral politics, but if we can get 500 people to show up to a direct action event by simply saying, hey, we'll go in a booth and write a name on a ballot for you, take 30 minutes, I think that's a decent trade-off, in my opinion. So I just saw Sabby's comment, then it updated again and went away. Okay, so I see Sabby and Nick all right here together. We all got our talents on RBN. Absolutely. Speaking to that. And Sabby, according to Jordan, the others won't talk to us if we criticize them. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad, because it's not going to stop. Unless they're going to stop saying dumb, making terrible recommendations to the movement, then this is not going to stop. So, it is, hey, it is what it is. Let's see here. Sabby, please have JB on your show to talk about the LGBTQ. I'm going to add issue in the Black community. And let's see if Nick said anything else here. Somebody is. Oh yeah, that's Nick. Oh, I just saw that. I was like, who put this comment? And I look, oh, that's Nick. Yeah, it's the I am the don't give a fuck member of RBN. Yeah, JB is so I'll say this what I said earlier in a different stream. JB is the compassionate one. He's the one where he has the compassion. He's the one that's, when he speaks, you're gonna feel his pain. You're gonna feel what he's saying. And he also shows compassion. He also shows understanding. He's that person. Then you have Sabrina or Sabby. She's the professional assassin. And you see that she's the one that's going to come with all the receipts and have that shit broken down. She's the one that's going to uncover different things that we didn't know necessarily. And you saw that with the David Sirota. Then you have Rome, who he's the man of the streets. That's the name I've given to him. He's a man of the streets. So Sabby is the professional assassin. JB is the compassionate one. Rome is the man of the streets. Man of the people, maybe you can call it. Or man of the people, man of the streets. He's the one that's out there cutting, cutting the unhoused hair, people that was unhoused. He's cutting hair. He did a video. Maybe I'll show that video in a little bit. And then Nick is the nerd because that's what he says. I'm the nerd. I would say he knows the most of multiple topics. Not that he knows more in one specific topic, but if you say we got 10 topics, he probably is the one that would know the most out of all 10 topics. Then now probably Rome shares this with me, but I'm probably on this more, and that's righteous anger. So I'm here to articulate the emotion of the pain, of the trauma of our community. I'm here to articulate that emotion. So I'm the one, all of us go on rants. That's not to say that. All of us can get people to get emotional. That's not what I'm saying. But it's that's my natural stance. Is that so awesome? So I think that and then we have Josana, and Josana is our flamethrower. She's the one who's ready to, she's the burn the shit down. All of us are kind of like that, but she's the one that's screaming it first. So she's our international flamethrower. So that's who Josana is. And that completes, I think that's all 6 members. But anyway, so let's get back to the discussion. I see my comrades are here. Josana is the female Rome. I like that also. But I see my comrades here. I try to do that. So we all play the role of that, you know. Like I've secured interviews with people and I've given them away, like bigger name people, because that's not my role. My like I'll give Nick a lot of the interviews that I feel like a more professional approach. I'll give it to Nick just because I'm here to expose, I'm here to give life to pain and trauma. That's what I feel I'm here to do. So anyway, let's now, but shout out to Sabby, shout out to Nick, and if any other RBN members are here. I don't know if Josana's here or not, but let me get back to the last part of this, and I'm going to get to Marianne Williamson.
That's where we start helping out each other in different ways and orders so that we can feed and clothe ourselves and things like that. So it's really creating an outside dual power to say, okay, corporations, we don't need y'all. And the employees of these corporations, if you guys truly want us to come to the table, then you guys need to quit these corporations and start leaving money out of electoral politics and come back to the people.
I'm going to end it there. They go into a lot more. I suggest go on Status Quo, go watch the entire interview. It's a pretty good interview. It's about an hour and a half long, or almost 2 hours, I should say. Hour and 50 minutes long. Check out the interview. But what JB is articulating is the need. Like, I mean, he said it already, the need to go back to those sort of revolutionary, the Black radical revolutionary sort of tradition. Hang on a second here. There was one other thing.
Jordan, status quo.
One second, everybody. Hang on a second. Yeah. Where was it at?
The person who's funded by the corporations and the billion was the Republican Party.
Because I don't know what it means. I keep hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they go into more. Believe me, there's a lot more.
A lot of us are really talking about how ineffectual they are.
Wow. I might do another question because there's a lot
about, we'll bring up, third parties. Well, what about, pushing more for third parties? And then they'll say, well, they're not known enough. But the people who are saying that are the people who have tens of hundreds of thousands of millions of subscribers who could make that person more famous.
Yeah.
Who could
It's too many. It's too much in that interview for me to cover all of it. So I don't want to just do a little bit of it. So I do see your super chat. 1 second, I'll get to that. 1 second. What was I just? Oh yeah, the Marianne Williamson. So let's start with, let's see which tweets I have of Marianne Williamson here. Wow, I found a lot of bad tweets from her after the first tweet, but let's look at the first tweet that got me. Where is it? Oh, it's on Revolutionary Blackout. So be patient with me, everybody. So let's find that tweet. I will share it in just a second here. Once I know I'm in the right place. Am I in the right place? I am not. All right. So I put, oh, it was a quote tweet, and those don't come up. Those don't come up as media. My bod. Those don't come up as media. I'm scrolling through the media part of Twitter trying to locate this. But those don't go through that part. So I'll do it the long way. All right. So here is one of them. And yeah, let's start from the beginning. So this is not the first tweet I saw, but we're going to start from the beginning because it gets worse after. So we'll start with her first part of her tweet here, and we're moving on from this story. Let me update this here to voting out fascism. We'll call this segment Voting Out Fascism. And let's zero in on this tweet by Marianne Williamson. Is my wife already? Oh, my wife may be already back. Oh wow, she's already here. So yeah, she's already back. So here is the initial tweet. They've been talking about a red wave in the midterms for so long, but decision to repeal Roe v. Wade decision and the Valday aftermath should change that. So the Roe v. Wade decision. So tell me how Marianne Williamson is not a Democratic operative. Is not a Democratic sheep herder. Like, she's basically saying, you've been telling us there's going to be a red wave, but it's not because of these issues that Democrats are complicit with. Like Roe v. Wade, not codifying that. Let's continue with the tweet. They still need to raise up against fascism, even when the party that should be doing so far more vigorously refuses to do so. So basically, we need to rise up against So even though the party is not doing shit, this is the list she's saying. Even though the Democrats are not doing shit, we still have to rise up and vote for them. That's what she's saying. And she tells people in her whole cosplay costume is she's a leftist. And I'm like Nick. There's two thresholds, two things you have to clear for you to be considered a leftist by me. You have to be anti-imperialist and you have to be anti-capitalist. I mean, it's almost one and the same. She's neither. So Zoya is Love actually is the first comment here. And I know Zoya was here. I don't know if she's still here in the comments, but if you have a comment about your comment, Zoya, please put in the chat. Here we go. Nick, Marianne Williamson is an imperialist, and that's the point I'm making. What's up, J7? Voting out fascism, a liberal's guide to urgency. That's pretty funny, Jay. I'm gonna leave that up for a second here as I continue. Actually, no, it covers the tweet, so I'll start it and I'll put it back up in a second because it covers a tweet. I also got to take this down so we can see Zoya's full tweet here. And actually, let's click on it. Maybe that'll make it better. If I click on this here, does that? How can I make? Oh, actually, I have it too big. I forgot. I don't need to make hers big because it's a photo. So let's back out of this a little bit. Now we can see Zoya's tweet a little bit better. All right. So under Democrats and Republicans, increased war and wealth gap. Cops killed 3 people a day. Housing crisis. 40 mil food insecurity or food or starving. Quarter world prison population. No health care. Roe v. Wade not codified. Increased oil drilling. Predator. I'm freaking bookmarking this shit right here. Predator student loans. Stagnant minimum wage. Kids in cages. Daily mass shootings. But let's vote for some more of the red blue people who got us here in the first place. Can I click on this picture? Yeah. This is what I was trying to do earlier. Since 1978, let me make sure this is showing. This is from the great Zoya is Love. And if you're here, Zoya, show yourself and I'll put your comments on there. Okay, here she goes. 3 days long. Imagine the meltdown from the boutique left. But this is Zoya. So Zoya Shore is Zoya is Love on Twitter. She said, or this tweet says here, since 1978, the cost of college tuition has increased by 1,120%. Medical care has increased by 601%. Food has increased by 244%. Shelters has gone up by 360%. Meanwhile, the pay of typical workers rose by 10%. Minimum wage workers fell by 5.5%. Average CEOs increased by 963. If this doesn't say here class warfare, we've been in a class warfare for decades, and the working class, the proletariat, had no idea. Our pay 10%. Minimum wage workers have gone down by 5%, but CEOs have gone up by over 900%. That's not class warfare. That's a class shellacking. When are we going to decide that we've had enough? When? I say one of the signs of that we've had enough is when we stop believing in people like Marianne Williamson, the cosplaying left, this almost was called, almost did a separate stream called the PSYOP left. David Sirota, Marianne Williamson, Robert Welch, the PSYOP left. I think is a very fitting name for them. Thank you, Zoya. Let's see any other comments here. This one from Moz Frame or Mo. We know Mo. Everybody know Mo from Twitter. No, this time it'll be different. Just give money to Beto. Yeah. And I happened to check out, you know what? I'm going to bring that shit up. So I subscribe to YouTube TV specifically so that with my streaming, I'm able to bring up corporate media. And this was going to be for the show, the propaganda report, be able to bring up corporate media and play it and break it down. I haven't been doing that so far, but I still have it. So let's bring up corporate media and let's see what they've been talking about. This is a side thing that, oh, wow, I got to sign in again. So let's sign in. And I'm going to get this all set up. I guess I can call this the next segment where we're going to talk about what mainstream media is covering and how it's covering it. In particular, CNN, MSNBC. I mean, we can look at all of them, but that's what I'm more looking towards. All right, so now let's go back to the tweet, and then I'll get to that. Really feels like a pre-Viva Revolution timeline. That's the comment on Zoya's thing. Anyway, now let's go to the quote tweets, because this is where you're going to see, I think it's the account's comment, and that's where we want to start the conversation specifically, or narrow the conversation a little more. Wow, a lot more people have decided to retweet this than when I checked it earlier, or quote tweet this when I checked this earlier. Wow, they don't have, where is Revolutionary Blackout? Wow. I guess a lot more people. Did I skip over it? Did I skip over it? Maybe I did. Wow. I wonder if Twitter's playing tricks on me here. So anyway, let's just go to, I guess, the horse's mouth per se. Let's do that. And just get it directly off of them when they or the account when it was retweeted. So let me find the tweet. For some reason, it does this sometime too. Have you ever went to a tweet and you try to retweet it or retweet quote tweets and it says there's no quote tweets there, and you can clearly see there's like 75 quote tweets? Like that happens to me all the time, and it happens to be with items that's calling out the ruling class or making some sort of critique on the ruling class or the one of the parties. So let me find it. I don't think she deleted it, right? Where is it? Is it here? Let's see if this is it. All right, finally found it. All right, so here is the tweet. Or here is the part where she makes the claim, this exchange here. So let me make sure that's on screen. So finally, my apologies, it took so long to find the exchange. But this is the exchange that I was looking for. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So I read the main tweet already, and then this person responded, and this is Professor DNA. Shout out to Professor DNA. You can't vote out fascism. Marianne Williamson said, you absolutely can. 39 likes, 32 quote tweets. And Rome says, this woman is a white supremacist. That gets 85 likes. But let's go down. There's another part that Rome comments that I want to cover some more detail. Maybe it's in the quote tweets of this. Right here. Here is where the quote tweet is. And let's go to the bottom here. Wow, it's a lot more. Okay. Here is Rome right here. Now, this is Rome's take on her saying you absolutely can vote out fascism. She's lying to you because she depends. Hang on a second. Let me make sure this is on screen because I didn't have this. I'm not viewing the screen when I'm reading this. Or viewing the stream. She's lying to you because she depends on and benefits from these fascists she claims you can vote out. You can't have one without the other. Fascism is a part of the system. They didn't just sneak in one day and gain all of this power. They made it this way from the start. Right. Voting out fascism is pretending like fascism is not contained in the DNA of America. Fascism. Can you vote out the Supreme Court? So how are you voting out fascism? Can you vote out the military out of all the wars that it's in? Can you vote out all the bases and bring them home? Then how are we voting out fascism? Or do you mean a specifically defined definition of fascism that only applies to Republicans? Is that what you're talking about, Marianne? So let's go to this one here. Oops. Marianne Williamson says you can vote out fascism. This is complete nonsense. If you're fascist, votes indicating the will of the people are irrelevant. White liberals are leading us to certain death with their strategy. How would you describe her take? And let's see how some of you responded on here. Here is RBN member Josana. Horrible, like all the you are not envisioning your new life right kind of bullshit she sells. Torturing and playing the mind of poor people. That's what the establishment that's what the establishment protectors like her do all the time. Don't vote, revote. And I also chimed in. I said, terrible like always. I really don't get why people call her left. Here. Robert Durden, friend of the show, part of the INN network. Fascism is basically capitalism, corporations taking over the state since both Democratic parties and Republican parties are owned by corporations. You're always voting for fascism if you're voting for the duopoly. That's a fantastic point. Yeah, I did retweet that. I was going to say, I know that I need to retweet that. Great point. Let's see any other comments here. DNC, we can legally choose candidates over cigars in back rooms. Yeah. Yes. Let's read a couple of more comments here. Actually, I'm trying to get to the ones we retweeted. I thought I retweeted a bunch of them. Let's check out J7 since he's in the building tonight. Let's check out him or his tweet here. Devoid of reason, fact, and urgency. So check out the graphic. So leftist here is passing a note to the liberal. Liberals are not part of the left. And the person's upset. That is a great graphic. Thank you, J7. I thought I had more. Let me zoom out. Maybe it's because I'm zoomed in so closely that I'm not really getting the full picture here. But I'm going to back out and go to more quote tweets of what she's saying and see what people are saying about it. Let's see what this has here. Oh, that's the same one I just looked at. Somebody just asking to racial this bullshit. Yeah, this is nonsense. I think that's the last comment. Actually, no, let's read this one right here. So you absolutely cannot vote out fascism. Laughing my ass off. It is designed to protect capital using the apparatus of the state already in place. If we really could vote out fascism, Miriam, then at least one police department since 2017 should have been voted into abolishment. That is actually a good point, a great point. And I'm going to stop it there. There was one last thing that I wanted to do. This is going to be a quick segment. So actually, let me wrap it up this way instead of just jumping off that topic. Voting out fascism is not possible. If you're able to vote it out, that means they weren't fascists. If you're able to vote out so-called fascists, that means they weren't fascists. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is if you can point to, the things that you're saying makes up the Republican Party, and why you're calling them fascists, those same things can apply to the Democratic Party. So that means both of them are fascists. So like Nick always says, we can take it either way. Either way, so we can go off based off what you're saying. You're saying they're fascists. Okay, and why are they fascists? Because these points, point. Okay, and all of that applies to the Democrats. So either way, we can, either way, however you want to play it, it's a stupid argument. Not only stupid, I think she's intentionally, like, these people are not stupid. They've attended Ivy League schools. They know the definition of stuff. They're not just misrepresenting these things coincidentally. They're misrepresenting these things intentionally to confuse, to get those people who don't know exactly, who do put trust in these figures because she's over here telling you to do meditation. We're at 438 likes. I think we can probably get to about 350 before the stream ends. But let's go to the final sort of story that I added midstream before we get off here for the last couple minutes. Want to do about 2 hours here before I log off. Oh, is this it? Yeah, YouTube TV. So let's go to, I don't want to go live. Let's go to a show. Oops. Let's go to a show. Oh, this is what I was looking for. Let's go to Morning Joe. Let's see what this person. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say nothing bad. I wasn't gonna use profanity about him or nothing. This person. Let's go to see what this is about here. I want to make the point. A point of this segment is how are they addressing, how they have framed what has happened, the tragedy that has happened in Uvalde is simply gun control. There's literally no reference to what's happening to the police.
Get a free Samsung Galaxy S22 with a Galaxy trade-in. Any year, any condition.
Oops. So yeah, Morning Joe's coming up. So I'm not watching the whole thing. I want to see what they're covering and how they're covering it. So that's what I'm playing here. Just want to make the point of corporate media and the spin they're doing. Now, because he's a Republican, or what he says, a former Republican, maybe his top story might be different, but we shall see. Let's look at a Morning Joe first few minutes. Oh, he's not here. First off, it's this guy. Let's see what it is here. Let's see what this top story is.
Too many schools have become, quote,
oops. Come on now.
killing fields. And with the war in Ukraine now entering day 100, the question is, where exactly does it go from here? We're going to ask Ukraine's ambassador to the United States a little later this hour. Plus, we've got some breaking economic news. The United States added 390,000 jobs in May as more experts sound the alarm about a potential recession down the road. That's a good jobs number, though, and the president is expected to speak about that report in about 90 minutes. But before he does that, we're going to get the latest from the White House when a key member of the president's economic team joins us live. And you thought Warrior Celtics was good? History at the Scripps National Spelling Bee.
Ornithorhynchus.
Okay, so that's the best headlines they can come up with on Morning Joe. But as you can see, their first story was the gun control. I just can't sit through that guy, so we're gonna go to a different show. Like, at least I know that that's what they're doing. But that particular person, I can't sit through listening to that. Yeah, I can't. But that's the person they're grooming to take over his spot. You know, the white privilege just shining through. So let's see what John King, Inside Politics, let's see what their top story will be. This is another corporate news outlet. Let's see what it is. Probably because I'm streaming and I'm trying to stream the television service at the same time.
And hair,
Little
skin, and nails.
backup.
New
Oh,
one a
Lord.
day, multi-plus.
They gotta throw in a 10-second commercial. No matter what, they gotta do that.
Blueprint for a scandal.
And no matter what, they gotta do that. So let's see.
This is CNN breaking news.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Inside Politics. I'm John
my
King in
God.
Washington. The breaking news this hour: a federal grand jury here in Washington has indicted the former Trump White House advisor Peter Navarro on criminal contempt of Congress charges. The indictment stems from Navarro's refusal to cooperate with the House January 6th committee and its investigation of the Capitol insurrection. Let's get straight to our senior legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed. Paula, tell us more.
This is not a big surprise because we know last week FBI agents.
This is not at all any news that should be getting covered. Just bullshit. Let's see how long let me fast forward through this shit. Wow. They're still covering it. I'm done. Okay. They covered the whole first segment then is that bullshit. So I fast forward. Let's see.
Enough. Don't tell me raising the age won't make a difference. Enough. My fellow Americans, enough. It's time for each of us to do our part.
CNN Chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins here with more on the president's ideas and, importantly, Caitlin, his strategy to pressure the Congress.
Yes, and of course he's doing that as he did in his evening address last night, that 17-minute speech delivered by the president, but he doesn't appear to be doing so directly yet, John, because he told reporters today that his staff is having constant conversations with lawmakers and their staffs about this, and that
staffs are having this issue isn't enough for us to talk directly. Our staffs are doing it. That tells you. So they're virtue signaling to the people who really care about something being done. They're just virtue signaling to them. Nothing's going to get done on gun control. And let me just repeat this. The number one story out of this mass shooting in Texas is the police state. That is the number one story, not gun control. But you see, mainstream media only knows how to digest information stories through the lens of blue-red. The police state is not a blue-red thing because both blue and red want to fund the police more. That's not an angle that they can exploit as red and blue. But what they can exploit as red and blue in this narrative, in this story, in this incident, is the gun control part. The police had guns, and there were more than one of them. The story is the police not stopping them, the police waiting outside, the police not going in, the police stopping parents from going in, the police not cooperating with the investigation. That is the story. But John King does what corporate media is going to do with this story, and I said it when it happened. I said it, 2 days, whenever it happened, it was a day after, they're going to just gun control. That's all they understand this to be. So that's CNN, and I did CNN, I'm sorry, I did Inside Politics, I did Morning Joe. Now let's do the Andrea Mitchell, who's clearly should have already retired. She's been stumbling over and losing her thought mid-sentence for years. Back when I used to watch the channel, I was like, wow, why is she not? Clearly there's something wrong here. But anyway, let's watch her. Let's see what the first number one story was on her channel or her episode. Let's watch. Oh, come on.
Introducing
commercial.
One a Day Multi Plus, a complete multivitamin. Plus,
keep forgetting the commercial. They got to start you out with a commercial. They got to start you out with the buy this, buy this. Just relentless bullshit. Anyway, let's see how Andrea Mitchell starts her broadcast. What is her top story? Let's see what she chooses to go with. Here we go.
Thank you for staying with us for this extended edition of Andrea Mitchell Reports and the breaking news just moments ago involving former top Trump White House official Peter Navarro. The 72-year-old has been indicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for failing to appear after being subpoenaed back in February, failing to appear and failing to turn over documents. Joining me now, NBC News Chief Correspondent Kristen Welker, co-host of Weekend Today, Boston Globe senior opinion writer Kimberly Atkins Storr, and an attorney as well as a journalist, and Washington Post White House bureau chief.
Let me
Ashley
show you
Parker.
something here.
So,
Let me
Kristen,
show you
first to
something
you.
here.
Talk to me
30
about-
minutes into this bullshit.
No, they're moving forward with
25
all
minutes
haste,
into
and
it.
that's
They're
part of,
still
again,
talking
why
about
secretive
this.
Rules are applied in the typical grand jury process. The grand jury meets and can go
Good
forward
Lord.
on indictment.
I can't. Let's move to something else. Let's see. Where is Chuck? Where's good old Chuck? Why isn't Chuck here? Is he on? Oh, he's on right now. That's why. It's 2 my time. I think that's his hour he's on. That's why Chuck's episode is not here yet. So let's check out the lead for today. Let's see what their top story. Oh, they're on now. So let's join from the beginning. I think this might be my last one here. I guess the Peter Navarro file. You see how they're presenting it to their audience?
Plus, the Uvalde cops, in the cavalcade of false information they initially shared, told you and all those mourning families that a teacher had propped open a door that the killer used to enter the school. That, like so much the police originally told us, was false. We're going to hear from the teacher's lawyer this hour. And leading this hour, today is the 100th day of the war in Ukraine. 100 days of the same unprovoked, brutal Russian assault that
Do you not understand that entire line right there is surgically placed? Those aren't off the cuff. The repetition of that phrase. Let me play it again. It's going to go back a little further, 30 seconds. And then he'll repeat the description of the war. Listen to how he describes it.
So much the police originally told us was false. We're going to hear from the teacher's lawyer this hour. And leading this hour, today is the 100th day of the war in
Listen how he describes it.
Ukraine. 100 days of the same unprovoked, brutal Russian assault that Vladimir Putin seemed to think was only
unprovoked. This is unprovoked. Why is it necessary not to just say this is 100 days of the Ukraine-Russia war? Why do you have to give it so many adjectives before you get into it, unless you're trying to color the story? Push your audience to a certain way. Just blatant when you watch this stuff.
It was only going to last a few days, with Russia seizing the capital of Kyiv and ousting Ukrainian President Zelensky quickly. 100 days later, that has decidedly not happened. Zelensky remains defiant, releasing a message to his country that, quote, victory shall be ours. 100 days in, the cost of victory is steep. A top red.
Why they making that guy come out and say that's to make those videos?
Cross officials saying the scale of destruction in Ukraine, quote, defies comprehension. Once vibrant towns, now piles of dust. Nearly 7 million Ukrainians.
Why don't they go to the West Bank and show what's happening there? Why don't you go to Yemen, to Syria? How come we can always get cameras to conflicts where we want to be able to give money to get the American people on board with us giving money to? That's a better way of saying it. But all the conflicts that we're funding that are genocidal, that are atrocities, that's sketchy. We don't know all the information. We're getting it just from Israel. We're getting it just from, why don't we have this detail for the conflicts that we're participating in? Where's the detail of the drone strikes of the Obama administration, where it was 90% civilians? Where's that footage?
Ukrainians have escaped the violence by leaving their country, according to the UN. Millions more displaced, and war cutting short the lives of at least 243 Ukrainian children, according to officials. For 100 days, the world has witnessed the cruelty of Russian forces. Bucha, Borodyanka.
So they decided to do some more war propaganda, and I'm just not going to regurgitate that through our airwaves here. So I think that may be the final. Yeah, that's going to be the last show. What did I show you? Like 4 different shows. So if it's not war propaganda, it looks like they were happily doing the gun issue. That's the only thing that came out of the Valdez. Now, he did mention, Jake Tapper did mention how the police were lying. So I'm curious. I'll probably go later on my own to just watch how they covered that. I'm not going to do it here in the stream. It'll take too long, but I'm going to go watch how they cover, how he talks about that. Yeah. All right. So let's do a like check, and then we're going to put up about 40 comments before we sign off here. So if you want to get your comment in, let's actually, let me show you this video first before I show you. I'm preparing for the last video of the show. But before I do that, let's show you this video. I gotta start looking at the screen here. Let's show this video here. I know all of you that follow us on Twitter, RBN on Twitter, I know you've seen this video of Rome. I shot this video when he was out in LA. So I'm the one holding the camera. And we're bagging. So these bags here have all the things that we brought. Like this happens just to be the closed part right here. The pizzas and the food is somewhere else. So we're bringing this out. We're bringing them all here to this corner. We're about to open them up, and you'll see, I'll pan over. You'll see people already going through the stuff. But then there's some people that walk by. It made a comment of, it's a choice to be down here. Out loud.
Choices, nigga. So let's help our fucking people out. These motherfuckers don't live in a 3-bedroom house. Go make your fucking choices, my nigga. Don't come around talking about what the fuck these fucking people do with their time. The fuck, nigga. Choices.
We'll play it again.
Choices, nigga. So let's help our fucking people out. These motherfuckers don't live in a 3-bedroom house. Go make your fucking choices, my nigga. Don't come around talking about what the fuck these fucking people do with their time. The fuck, nigga. Choices.
Yeah, I remember that. That day was a very memorable day. It was another person who was there, unhoused person. He was a cool guy, black. He was an older black gentleman, had to be in his 50s, late 50s. Happy, just a happy guy. He had soda. He was drinking a soda. He had on like a hat, and some of the clothes we gave him, he had like a Laker jersey. You can carry, it was like a knockoff Laker jersey. Just happy. And what was the story I wanted to tell about him? Oh, that guy. He had, to me, that was some obvious mental issue that he had that was being untreated because he was unhoused. But then I was just imagining how much of that is going on where we don't know. And J7 was actually down there with us. J7 Politics. He showed up also. And there was a couple of people there. It was just, I just don't understand. Like, that comment was completely unnecessary. And it was made so that the people can hear. Why do you need to have that? Because the person could have walked with their people out of earshot and said what they wanted to say. It's to make a point to these people are down here. Or is it to make the point that to make you feel him or that person feel better. And that's the reason, because that's how you can explain away you not doing nothing about this. This is a choice. It makes you, it's a coping mechanism for you being a despicable human being. Oh, it's a choice. That explains away why me as a human being don't need to help this other human, because they're deciding to be down here. That's really, to me, what the person was doing. Coping mechanism. It's the same reason people, the General Strike Summit, look at that, blah, blah, blah. It's to make them feel like, man, I'm not a complete, sack of rocks because I'm not doing nothing. So I have to say what they're doing is bad because I'm not doing it. And if what they're doing is good and I'm not doing it, that just means that I'm a complete piece of shit. So I have to say that what they're doing is terrible. The same sort of coping mechanism of you feeling like a terrible human being. So that's not the clip I was planning to show you, but stumbled upon it while I was searching for the other one. I may have posted it too far back, so I may not be able. Yeah, I may have posted it too far back, so cannot do that now. But I'll set up the final video for us, and then go ahead and take your comments. And we will end with this. Oh, actually, we started with that, and we watched the James Baldwin one. So, okay, then I'll go ahead and we'll play this last one in just a moment here. Let me pause it when it stops doing that. So I'll pause it. All right, so let's put your comments up. I'm going to be signing off in just a minute. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed the stream. Let's start. Let's scroll up a little bit. I'm going to start about... let's go all the way. Wow, it's a lot here. So 210. All right, so... yes, the U.S. government has a PhD in propaganda. I would say that is correct. And yeah, JB for being on Status Quo. That was great. Absolutely. Andrea Mitchell is washed as fuck. She is. She should have been gone a long time ago. Who killed 20 million babies? Hold on. Let me. 20 million babies. I'm trying. I vaguely remember what you're referencing to, but I should have brought this up when the video was on. Sorry about that. Right here. Fascism uses a strongman demagogue, but fascism doesn't require a dictator. It requires finance capital to use extra government armed bodies to destroy dissent, so one camp of capital takes control. That's exactly what's happening in the United States. More reptilians on TV. Andrea, I already said that one. Oh, I'm supposed to be going down. That's why, not up. You mean Miss Andrea Greenspan? That is true. That is true. They never debate that because it's fact. Professor Schwab is the dictator of fascist Atlantic. Allied forces expansion of wealth for 1%. I read that one. Let's keep going down. Busy dialing for dollars. Call me when the next culture war rings. Its head, so rings its head, so I can show I care. Thank you. Eat real food. Don't need vitamins. I guess they're talking about having a different conversation. This is Mimi Miller is talking about some items. They're a cannabis advocate in the chat. This is Zoya. On August 15th, 1971, in a nationally televised address, Nixon announced, "I am today ordering a freeze on all prices throughout the United States. Biden has the authority to freeze prices on food and gas." He absolutely does and won't, because the donors want to be able to make money off all of our pain. We're winning. Capitalism, American exceptionalism. Eugenics is opposite of communist ideas. Communists seek growth by unleashing the productive potential of society. It also seeks to strengthen the family. They're having a discussion in the chat. All right, so I'm going to do one last like check. I think that's the last comment. Thank you for everybody watching on Rockfin, and I think we're streaming on Twitter. We have to get reattached to Facebook for that to be put back on. So that it will be returning soon, hopefully. But our last like check is this. Oh, wow. 494. So maybe 6 more, we can get to 500. It's a small goal, but I'm sure we can reach it. So 6 more, we can reach 500. I'm going to be signing off right now. In 30 minutes, you will be having the Sabby Sab show on. And let me see if I have a graphic for her to put up here. So, yeah, I think I'm going to find Sabby's graphic so I can post it up. She'll be on here. Where is her graphic? Yeah. Oh, this is my page. My bad. I'm gonna put this back up. So here it is here. All right, so let me take this off and just briefly share what Sabby's episode or topics will be. And this is, hang on a second here. There's 2, and I'll show you both. So I'll show you the first one. So this one, she'll be live today, 3 p.m. Eastern on RBN, Glenn Greenwald versus Joe Biden, and then Bill Gates class warfare. So check her out here. And then on her own network, so that's 6 p.m. Eastern. And then on her own network 2 hours later on the Sabby Sab network, let me click this one. It's Rokana supports Nominki, Max and Aaron talk hope and Bowman hypocrisy, like the sellout. I call him the sellout. Yeah, Jamal Bowman. So check that out. I don't know if Nick is doing a stream tomorrow, but if he is, sometimes he does do streams on Saturdays. But if he is, make sure you check that out. Otherwise, this is the end of. I'm sorry, this is the end of me streaming. This weekend I'll be off I'll just be working this weekend, so I won't be on. I'm gonna leave you with this clip, and we'll not be returning after the clip. Make sure you like the stream. Let's get to 500 or maybe 510 before we're gone. And thank you for watching. And this is You Left Shit Out, and I'm your host, Compton J.
Trial, the fact that she was suppressed the way that she was in the initial stages. Secondly, because Angela Davis is a black woman and a black person, and black people have always, in most cases, received unjust trials. We don't believe that there's justice in the courts. There is not equity in the courts of America. And therefore, we know that one reason why that we feel the only way that Angela Davis is going to get a fair trial, if in fact she does, and we don't believe it, is that the people have to free her.
You're saying goes against the whole rule of law in a civilized society. I mean, what would you do?
Well, the laws were not written for laws were not written to protect black people. They were not written to protect poor people. The laws were not written to protect the underprivileged and those who we call in America the have-nots. And therefore, because the laws were written to protect the people who have money and the people who have positions, it means very, very much so that we cannot trust the courts. We cannot trust the law.
But Angela Davis is not a have-not.
Oh, but as long as you're black, you have to stay back. As long as you're black, you're a second-class citizen. As long as you're black, I don't care how much money you get, you still don't have the privileges of those white people who have money.
What makes them mad about it? What makes them mad about it is that they had black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descent. They had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire best. We think you fight fire with water best. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions where all of those people are getting together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. Right on. And that's saying all power. And you've heard the testimony of pigs here, and you got pigs of all colors, you know that. You got pigs that are white, you got pigs that are black, you even got pigs that are black and white. Propagating the same type of madness that this buffoon Hanrahan would be propagating if he were here himself. And why? Because they want to keep you to believing that I'm your enemy, and that everybody else that's black and that wears a lot of hair on his head, and hair on his face, they want to keep you thinking that he's your enemy. Why? Because if ever you would disregard him and overlook him just for a minute and throw away that question of racism and start dealing with a little logic, then there would be no one else you could attack other than Hanrahan, other than Davey, and other than Tricky Dicky Nixon. If you make the right decision, you can impress people of the world and get complete satisfaction. I know you return a verdict of not guilty.